And we're back to the R2C Code podcast, season 2. We got a new face on our board here.
Yep.
Gerard.
That's me.
It is. We got so much exciting stuff coming up on season 2. Oh, yeah. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves to the kids at home. Gerard, let's start with you.
That's me, Gerard. I work at a Toyota dealership, just selling parts, and I'm looking forward to learning about computers and all that sort.
Very cool. Very cool. You've always been a hands-on type of person, and you're working as a motorhead, and that's something that you've always enjoyed. When we used to work on your car, all three of us, really.
Yeah.
As when you guys were younger and whatnot. So the job fits to have the hobby, and you also been into computers with the hardware aspect of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got some plans for season 2 with you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Jonathan, intro yourself. Tell us about you.
That's me. And what I usually do for a living is I work at a restaurant doing restaurant stuffs, and been working at the restaurant for almost 4 years now. And on the side, I've been learning how to do programming, some web development for almost a little over a year now.
Yeah.
And we've been, learning C#, a little bit of C#, some learning how to write some web APIs and all that stuff to make a functioning website.
That's right.
Nice.
And I'm Victor. I actually have been working in the software engineering field for, 25 years now. It's quite a time. That's 25 years. I didn't realize that. I just did a quick math on my head. And I worked with a lot of different companies, different industries. My latest gig is selling makeup. I obviously do not sell makeup. I work on the technology side of selling makeup, which consists of their website, their applications, internal, public facing, maintenance, fixing bugs, making sure things are always running. It's pretty much my job where I'm at. And so I don't get to code as much as I'd like to at work. And so my actual coding happens with Jonathan. And now I actually get into some security with Gerard. So it keeps me on my toes and keeps me ahead of you guys so that I can go ahead and share my knowledge. And we apply it. We apply it here in these videos. So yeah, definitely exciting times for season 2.
Yeah.
Jonathan, in season 1, we put up a little store with some swag, and we've added some merch, huh?
Oh yeah.
You want to share your screen and just talk about it really quick, how we get there, the easy way to get there, and what people can buy and the new items that we've added?
All right. So on your web browser, you go to theroadtocode.net.
Wow.
Jonathan gets excited.
And we have a little tab that says official merch. That links you to the a little Teespring website that has all of our merch.
The tote bags are back.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, what is that right there?
We got long sleeve. And then the tote bags, we got black and white.
And they're organic.
Organic too, yeah.
Very cool. And we're still going to be giving away merch in our season 2.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of kinks to iron out so that we can communicate efficiently with everybody. But once we get those kinks ironed out, we'll go ahead and start that raffle once again. We definitely want to give away stuff. But if you want to support our cause here, which is basically spreading the knowledge of how to do stuff technically, and you're getting benefit from the videos, please, by all means, support us by heading over to theroadtocode.net and click on the merch tab and buying something, and we'll keep these videos going. All right. So let's talk about plans for season 2 for Gerard. Gerard, you want to talk a little bit about what we have planned for you?
Yeah. I mean, I just know that I'm gonna be learning about Linux.
Linux.
Yes.
Wow.
And you actually gave me remember that laptop that was like super old?
Yes.
I never used it because I never knew how to learn. Like I never learned how to use Linux. So
Wait,
I'll
do you
probably
have a laptop that has Linux on it?
yeah, dude.
Oh, that's cool.
I just never used it because I didn't know how to use Linux, and now
Yeah.
I probably will be able to use it.
Yeah, exciting times, definitely. Yeah, I mean, one of the things about learning Linux and really the whole purpose of for you to learn Linux is to get into what they call penetration testing, which is a security aspect. I actually have a MacBook Pro. It's a Linux flavor. It's actually running a BSD operating system. Well, it stems from that. It's not the BSD operating system, but the Linux the Mac OS stems from that. And so I'm always running the terminal command, and I'm always running commands in there. But when you do it in Linux, you get a much deeper sense of what's going on in the operating system. Even in Windows, there's so much that's hidden with the whole graphical user interface that it all seems like magic, right? So what we plan to do is get you introduced to the Linux operating system, get you working with that terminal command line. And as we go through these episodes, we're going to talk about how it compares to Windows. And so people that want to get into security, obviously Linux is the route that you want to get into. And the reason is that hardware is not just limited to a computer. In other words, I mean, you can install a hard drive, right? But you still need to interact with the operating system. And so getting intimately familiar with the operating system becomes a really important aspect. And so by learning Linux, you'll have a reference to like, oh, well, here's how we do it in Windows. And it gives you that reference point, and you realize it's like, oh, this is what Windows must be doing under the covers, because on the terminal, there is no covers. You're actually watching the rubber hit the road. Jonathan has a good analogy. You want to talk about the analogy when you're working between Linux and Windows, Jonathan?
It's like driving an automatic versus driving a stick shift.
Linux would be the stick shift. You get to shift the gears when you feel like it.
Like you are the computer.
I like to think of it more as the operator on the Matrix. When you hear the phone, ring, operator. Very cool. Jonathan, what do we got going on with you in season 2?
So what we're planning on doing is continuing on with the significant application. So we're going to create some new stuff for it and try to launch it so everyone could see it.
Yeah. Automating the build, automating the deployment, getting that continuous deployment as we make changes. It's a challenge. Let me tell you, a lot of people really find it hard to set that up. But once you get to set it up, man, it's a walk in the park. It's like it makes your life so much easier. And I think a lot of people are going to benefit by watching us work with some of the latest technology. We're going to be working with Visual Studio 2022, which was just released about a month ago. We're going to be working with .NET, C#, .NET. The .NET, I think it's called just .NET 6.0. C#, I think, is in version 8 or 9 or 10. God knows what version they're on, but we're going to be working with the latest stuff. So we're going to be working with bleeding edge technology, Jonathan.
Whoa.
And you can guarantee that we're going to bleed.
You might shed a tear.
More than likely. Yeah. And so me, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of technology and security. And so I don't get to program as often as I'd like to at work. And so working with Gerard and Jonathan keeps my feet wet in technology. And so it allows me to jump ahead and do the research so that when we do these podcasts, we record them, we get it right, hopefully the first time. Hasn't always happened in the past, but that's the goal. And so, but definitely keeps me ahead, and it makes it easy for us to create these videos and show the technology and be able to have other people benefit from the research that we've done. Gerard, let's talk about the resources that you're going to be using to learn about penetration testing.
I'll be using what is it? Udemy? Linux Mastery.
Yeah. That's such a good course. How long is it?
11 hours long.
Not bad.
11
not
hours.
bad. Yeah. So, I mean, you figure, I don't remember if you remember how you would do your homework in high school and in college, but in most cases, if you attended an hour of class, a subject class, let's take math, for example. I know you guys hated math. I love math.
The worst.
So if you went to an hour of math class, chances are you had to multiply that times 2 for homework. And so these 11 hours, there's 11 hours of video. You can multiply that by 2, because chances are you're going to pause, you're going to play around with the command that you've learned. And so if you spend 3 minutes learning a command, you're probably going to spend another 6 minutes in addition to that playing around with the command. Because not only the way that these videos work is that, imagine you're walking through a house, right? And somebody opens the front door for you and they say, here's the living room. And you walk in to the living room, but walking past the living room really doesn't give you the sense of details. Instead, you probably stand in the middle of the room, you look around, you kind of get a picture of like, well, there's that window and there's that window. These curtains, I know what kind of curtains I would want, or what type of blinds, or what type of shades. And so the 30 seconds that the person took to introduce you to the living room, you're going to spend a minute looking around, looking at the details and seeing what you can do with that living room. And so these videos are the same way. They'll introduce you to a command and you're going to go and explore a little bit. So you're always going to multiply that time times 2 for the amount of time that you'll be spending with it. So
nice.
The whole purpose of learning Linux is because there's several flavors of Linux, and you're going to be learning about Linux on Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is a very easy version to install. It's mainstream. But ultimately, we want to get you into 2 flavors of Linux that are used for white hat. Well, they're used for hacking, but we want to use it for white hat hacking. And there's a difference: white hat hacking versus black hat hacking. Black hat, illegal. It can get you into a ton of trouble. White hat hacking is normally you would do it on your own network, but if you're going to do it on somebody else's network, is because they are giving you permission to explore vulnerabilities that are on their on their network. and you inform them of those vulnerabilities, and they go and patch them, they go and fix them, or they ask you to fix them. And so it becomes a way that you can go to somebody's house and say, hey, would you like for me to check how secure your network is? And it's like, yeah, we would love for you to do that, and you go and you do some exploring, you do a little bit of penetration testing, and you find the vulnerabilities, and you say, here are your vulnerabilities. Would you like to get them fixed? And at that point, it's almost like getting your car checked, and then they give you the list of things that are wrong. It's like, would you like these things fixed? Mm-hmm. And there's a way to make money off of it, and it works out really well. People at home don't realize how insecure their networks are, and the best place to start is on your own network. It's like, how secure is your own network? And so those are things. You're always, obviously, the more services you have exposed, the more holes that you're going to have in your security, potentially more holes. And those are the risks that you're willing to take to expose those particular services. And so, there's always pros and cons to all the different things. And those are things that need to be weighed out. But ultimately, that's where we want to get you. And beyond that, we actually want to get into penetration testing of applications, so that as Jonathan and I are writing our applications, you'll be able to point out certain vulnerabilities and making sure that we're also doing our checks and balances on the application. And so there's a whole career behind stuff like this that will, to me, I think it's fun. I think it's fun to be able to, tell somebody's like, yeah, like what you thought was secure is not secure. Let me help you secure it. Here's a bill, So yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, you're going to start with the Udemy Linux Mastery, and then where we're going to go from there.
Learning how to use the tools.
Cool. And where's that going to be at?
Backtrack and Kali Linux.
Those are the flavors of Linux. Yeah.
Oh.
But the website that we're going to be using for that.
CBT Nuggets.
Yeah. It almost sounds like CBD, huh?
Whoa, what kind of nugs are we doing over here?
Trust me, every time I say that, I got to really pronunciate those CBT. I've caught myself a couple of times talking about CBD there, and like, no, it's really, it's security. They're like, yeah, right. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. Really exciting. We have a whole thing planned out for the security. Everything that you learn, we're going to do it in a comparison to how you would accomplish some of these things in Windows. As far as learning the Linux command line, obviously, you can go, we'll share the resources on the description of the video as to where Gerard is learning this, but we don't plan to show the course on our episodes. But instead, what we want to do is we want to do a comparison to how you would do it in Windows. And then what I want to do, Gerard, is get your perspective as to what it taught you about Windows and how it exposed you, or at least showed you what's maybe going on under the covers from a Windows operating system. And then what's really cool is that everything that you learn in this course, I don't know if you're aware, but Windows 10, they now have a subsystem for Linux that runs on Windows itself.
That's pretty neat.
And so you can actually run your Linux terminal on the Windows command line.
Whoa.
And you'll be able to use all the commands that you learn on Linux. You'll be able to use them on Windows. And so I think it would be interesting to be able to do that once you've learned some of the commands and stuff like that. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds fun.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Jonathan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what features we're going to start with significant application, because we actually had a significant where we were doing the birthdays and we did the significant events, but we never deployed it. And, it was more, I want to say, you were still learning React. I was still guiding you quite a bit with the C# APIs to be able to store the data in SQL Server database and whatnot. But this season, we're going to focus on getting this application up on the web so that other people can see it and they can touch it and they can feel it. And we're going to leave the repository open and available for whoever wants to go and download the code. They can go ahead and download it, run it on their local machine, or set it up on Git and go deploy it on their own servers and stuff like that. We don't want to keep this code to ourselves. We actually want to share it. But let's talk about some of the features that we'll be creating for this application.
Yeah, so we want to do obviously a homepage. So like when everybody lands on the page, they see something, and they'll be able to see the events of the current week, and then filter through the pages and just flip through it.
Very cool.
And then also authentication and authorization, which is pretty huge. I feel like Google, Facebook, everyone kind of logs in with those now. So, creating a password, all that stuff. And then after that, we're going to do submitting an event. So after you register, you could submit ideas, and that'll go through an approval process. We approve it, and then different categories when you enter it in an event.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, essentially what we want to do is we want other people to help us recognize birthdays of people in technology and events that have driven us to what technology is like today, right?
Or also, I was thinking events that influenced ourselves too, because like some stuff is just like basic, but like what influenced us in technology.
Oh yeah, and then we can celebrate the anniversary year after year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good one right there. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, we covered everything that we are going to be doing in season 2, but we can't walk away without actually giving some like code and some technology. And I think right now would be a good time to let's set up the account in Azure. Set up the account in Azure, set up the repository. We're not going to be using Git this time. We're going to be using Azure. Azure has a Git repository, and we can make it public and people can access it without any problem. But what Azure offers is a whole ton of services that we want to take advantage. And everything that we do, we always try to do it in such a way that you can go and do it for free. And so what I want to do is I want to walk everybody through, obviously we're going to be using Visual Studio 2022, which is the latest version of Visual Studio. We want to be using the latest version of .NET, the latest version of C#, all that good stuff. So we're going to walk through creating an account in Azure. We're going to create a project in Azure. We're going to initialize the Git repository. We're going to clone that repository to our local drive. We're going to go ahead and set up some configurations for that project. In Visual Studio, we're going to create a blank solution. We're going to create a React application that runs the web API in the background. We're going to commit those changes to our Git repository on Azure. And then we're going to go and set up our automated build pipeline and our automated release pipeline so that the whole life cycle, every time we check in code and commit it, it builds the application and it deploys it and updates the website. And, people can come back to this video if they ever want to go and set up their own pipelines to automate stuff. How's that install on Visual Studio coming along?
It's already done. I have it ready.
Excellent. let's go ahead and share your screen, Jonathan,
All right.
and let's walk through and set up a couple of things. We'll go ahead and leave this the way it is. Let's go ahead and open up the browser, and don't worry about passwords and usernames. I'm going to blur them out in the editing process.
Okay.
So it'll be pretty safe. We're going to go to a website called DevOps, DevOps.azure.com. In here, what we want to do is we're going to create an account. So we can go ahead and start for free.
Always looking for free.
Always looking for free. That's right. Whatever's free, we take it. Free as in beer. Oh, you know what? You're using your native fields.
Yeah, I was looking at that right now.
Yeah, let's change that.
How do I do that?
Let's go back.
Do I have to just put sign in?
Yeah, go ahead and
Oh.
sign out. Yeah. So go ahead and you may have to. Okay. Yeah.
Free account.
Free account.
Start free.
Start for free. So instead of going to that Azure, DevOps Azure, we went to azure.microsoft.com.
There we go.
All right. Go ahead and put in your information.
Oh, wow. What's my address?
Yes. And so they're also going to want to identify you. So go ahead and have them do that. Text me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Microsoft is a very legitimate business. And so they're going to want to.
I agree.
You agree. You agree to let them monitor you. Yeah, sure. You want to receive free stuff. There's so much going on in the background there when you sign up. Like you're probably going to get like 10 different accounts.
Oh,
go ahead and insert a credit card in there. You guys get to see what I deal with every day.
all right.
All right. So now you see where it says go to the Azure portal. So just to be clear, we went to azure.microsoft.com where you started a free account. They do ask for a credit card. Some of the features that you could use do charge. We're going to try to stay on the free side of things. I've never been charged so far. Knock on wood. And so yeah, we're gonna try to stay on the free side as much as possible. We want to be able to give that experience to other users to be able to explore and keep things free as much as possible, so that when they do get paid, then they can go ahead and ramp up the resources and be able to charge others while they're getting charged. So this is the portal. So let's open up another tab. And let's go ahead and go to devops.azure.com.
Wow.
Dang it.
Oh.
Okay. Let's go to Edge. Fire up Edge. And yeah, go to DevOps.
Azure.com.
.com and go ahead and just press got it.
Got it.
Sign in. There you go. United States. And here, so this is the name of the organization. So I would call it the Road to Code. Yeah, when you're dealing with these accounts and all this stuff, just lowercase would be the best. We're going to switch that to West. So scroll down to.
Don't have.
Oh, okay.
Central.
Central's fine. Go ahead and type in the funky characters. Yep.
Oh, it's already taken.
What?
Somebody took our.
Somebody took our name?
What about R2C?
Oh, how about we just put R2C, not the. Oh, I guess you could do. Yeah, try R2C. It's already taken.
What the?
Oh man.
The R2C.
All right.
All right.
Okay. The R2C is available. Dang it. All right. So here is, so the organization is the R2C, which stands for the Road to Code. And under this organization, you would create a project. And so under this organization, the project that we want to create is called Significant, all lowercase. And we want to make it public. Because if we make it public, oh, interesting. It doesn't let you choose it, huh?
Oh. Oh, you can turn on public visibility with organization policies.
Let's go to the organization policies.
Allow public projects.
There you go.
Nice.
All right.
Let's go back. Azure's. Yep. Now let's give it a significant name.
Forgot the N.
Significant. What?
Is it not like go to advance? Interesting. Let's go back to the policies.
Yeah.
And I think what you forgot,
Oh,
was there a save button somewhere?
I was gonna say that. But
No.
Let's go to the overview.
The what? Overview.
Okay. Let's go ahead and close the browser and come back.
Edge.
Edge, yeah. I was like, what was I using?
Got to use Edge because Chrome is caching some information there. All right, let's try it again.
Oh, now I
there
can
it
do
is.
Now we can do it.
Nice.
You know, Microsoft can also get stuff wrong occasionally.
Maybe-
So this is the web project
Web.
for significant events. So we got our organization, we've created our project. What we want to do now is we want to go down to the repos and we want to create a repo for this project. Switch the default to significant repository. There you go. Okay. Excellent. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can go about this. Excuse me. We can go and initialize a Git repo on our local drive and then push the information up to this particular URL. But what I like to do, and I think we've done it in the past, Jonathan, is where we've actually initialized on the server. So you see down at the bottom where it says add a README file, we're also going to add a git ignore, and we're going to type in Visual Studio in there. Because there's certain files that we don't need to constantly keep track of in source control. We don't care about the history of those changes. And these are files that are obviously, always being compiled. Then they take up a lot of room. All the libraries that we can download, all that stuff. We don't care about any of that. Somebody else is managing it. We just care about the stuff that we're actually going to be working on. And so creating that git ignore file helps us manage that and keeping our repository smaller. So let's go ahead and initialize it. Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. Let's go clone it. So go and click on that clone and copy that URL.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's go open up your Git bash terminal. This is what you're going to be learning, Gerard. All these commands. So go ahead and open that window a little bit more. Drag the edge of that window and make it bigger. And then holding down your control key and then mouse wheel up, it'll make it not too big, but yeah. And let's go ahead and switch over to the root of the C drive. And so you could do that by typing in cd space // C
C.
/ enter.
There we go.
There we go. And let's get a listing. So you can do a listing by typing in LL. Yep.
Oh,
Let's open up your window a little bit more so that these come up in one. And go ahead and clear and do another LL.
there we go.
Nice. Look
Oh.
at that. You feel like you're in the Matrix yet, Gerard?
Yes, already.
Are you the operator? Do we have? Yes, we have a repos folder. So let's go ahead and change directories into that repos folder. And let's go ahead and clear the screen and check what's in there. All right. We have a significant folder in there. Let's create a new folder, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move all this stuff into that folder. So you're gonna type in a command called I like to call it McDir, related to the food company. It's going to be dir. MKDIR and space McDonald's. And then go to add a space and then call it GitHub. And I think we can move all this stuff. So let's see. Let's try a command called move. How about this? Let's do one at a time. Let's go ahead and do MV space. And then just type in BO tab or just single tab, BO tab. And then space / GitHub. Yeah, that's exactly it. Go for it. Ooh, let's see do a listing again. See what's in there. Yeah. So let's move the rest of those.
So instead of like copying and paste or right clicking, cut and pasting into Windows.
That's it.
Let's do a clear. And let's go ahead and create another folder called Azure.
Oh, what? Another folder?
Yeah, called Azure.
McDir.
Azure. Excellent. And let's go ahead and change into that folder.
There we go.
All right. Now what we could do is we can actually create the repo inside of that Azure folder. So you could do your git clone and then type in, paste.
Space clone. And then what?
You could right click and paste, or try right click and paste. There you go. So that's going to go and grab the repo from the server. So let's go ahead and change directories into that folder that we just cloned.
What is it called? Significant?
Yep.
There we go.
There we go. And we're on the main branch. So we can go ahead and work with this for now. All right, let's see what's in there. Go ahead and do a listing. Yeah, this is just that one README file. Let's look at the contents of that README file. Let's go ahead and type in cat, C-A-T, space, and then you can just type in capital R tab. So yeah, that should be what's on the server right now.
Wow.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff, huh? It's kind of interesting. It's funny to see Gerard's reactions. It's like, oh man. All right. So we've cloned the repository. We have a copy of the repository from Azure, and now we need to go and create our solution and our project. So let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio 2022.
Newest and greatest.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and select create a new project.
Kind of reminds me of like the old MySpace days.
Oh,
We
the good
had
old
to
MySpace.
copy and paste like a bunch of code to get our specific like profile.
Yeah. All right, so let's search for blank. And let's call it significant with the capital Z. And then change the folder location. So click on the little three dots. And let's go all the way to that C repos, Azure, significant. Yep, select that folder. And go to hit create. So this gives us an empty solution. It's nothing significantly important here. Let's go ahead and close Visual Studio just for a moment. We need to make one change. No, we want to close it.
Close the whole thing.
Yeah. And let's open up Windows Explorer, the File Explorer. I mean, you know, we could do it through the terminal, but everything that we just did through the terminal, this is how you would do it in Windows. Let's go over. Let's go over to the C repos, Azure significant, and let's go into that significant folder, and let's cut that and move it up one folder. Paste it in here, and then get rid of that significant folder. Yeah. And you could just double click on that solution and Visual Studio 2022.
Wow.
That's a cool startup now that it has.
Yeah. And let's right click on that solution and let's add a project. And let's look for React. And the one that we want is going to be ASP Core React. Yep, that's the one we want right there. And so what we're going to want to do is we want to remember we need to stick with namespaces. So we're going to do capital significant dot. I don't know, let's call it web app, I guess. This is the web application. Let's go ahead and do proper casing on that. Yeah, hit next. And we want to work with the latest version of .NET 6.0.
That's it.
And authentication, none. We don't care about authentication. We're going to write authentication from scratch. So let's go ahead and create. We should be able to run it. So let's go ahead and right click on the solution. And let's clean it. And then once the clean succeeds, let's go ahead and rebuild it. So it looks like it succeeded. Mm-hmm. You see over on the around the center of your bar, the bar where it says significant.web app, there's a little play button, but there's also a little, go to that drop down. And let's go to the web browser. So right now it's going to launch it in Google Chrome. We could launch it in Google Chrome, but I think we should go ahead and switch it over to Edge. This should reroute us to our host in a bit. Look at that.
There it is.
We have an application. And this application is just like something that came out of the box. This is a template that Visual Studio gives you. If you go over to the counter menu, you'll be able to click on that increment button. So we got a couple of sample pages. Go to the fetch data. Fetch data is using an API to go and grab this information. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff, huh?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and kill this, shut down the browser. And let's go. All right, very cool. Let's go over to the Git Changes tab. Well, wait a second. Before we do this, let's go old school on this, Jonathan. Open up that Git command line. You remember all the commands?
I have a notebook of it, but yes, I do.
I'll help you through it.
Okay, hold on.
Let's do a Git status. So we have a couple of files that need to be. So right now, what happens is that Git only tells you is like, hey, look, we're inside of a repo of a source control repository. And these are files that have been added, but we're not keeping track of them. So you have to add them. And the way you do that is you do git space add. And the way that you add just everything is you do space period. That will add everything. So go ahead and press enter. And let's do another status. Now it says, oh, you've added all these files. We're going to keep track of these files. Every time you change it, we're going to tell you, it's like, hey, we're keeping track of these files and we're keeping track of all the changes that are occurring. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to commit those changes to your local repository. So you do git commit -m double quote initial project and solution. It's just a little comment that we're going to add there. Close your double quote.
Do I have to do it again?
You may have to do, I think if you just close your double quote and press enter, you should be good.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. And so let's do another status. What do we got?
There it is. It's
So
clean.
it's clean, but it only, these changes only exist on your computer. We have to push them up to the server, right?
Mhm.
So now we do a git push.
Whoops.
Yep. Go ahead and enter your credentials. Let's
There you
open up Edge and let's go to Azure and see what we got there. And we should be able to refresh this page.
Oh yeah.
Bam.
Snap.
The files are up on the server. That's some pretty cool stuff. Go ahead and click in there. Yep. All the files are in there. Now what we want to do, Jonathan, is we want to set it up so that every time you commit a change, it's going to run an automatic build. It's just going to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and try to build this, and I'm going to do some publishing. Go to repos and files, click on repos and files, set up build over on the, you see on the upper right-hand corner?
Yeah.
The first one, let's go with the first one. Yeah. Let's go ahead, save and run, see what we get, see what it does. So, let me explain to you what's going on. This is important. So what Azure did is they created an infrastructure as a service. And what they're creating here is called a YAML file. And YAML stands for YAML ain't markup language, because you have HTML, which is hypertext markup language. You have XML, which is extensible markup language. And so you have all these like general type of markup languages. But what Microsoft wanted to convey with their YAML file is that this is not a markup language. So they said YAML ain't markup language. It's totally funny. So what's going to happen is that when you when you hit save and run, it's actually going to create a YAML file on the root of your repository. And this is what it's going to use to run this build. So let's go ahead and save and run.
Interesting.
And these are instructions for it to be able to build. So let's go ahead and click on that job, on that blue. Yep. And it failed. Oh, the host parallel line has been purchased or granted. To request free parallel, fill out the following. So go ahead and go ahead and highlight that URL.
Oh, I clicked on it.
No. Go back. You see that URL over on the upper right? Go ahead and click on, highlight that and open up a new tab. So what's your name? Let's go ahead and put your name in there. Let's go grab the URL for your organization. If you go to the DevOps, Azure DevOps upper left hand, and go ahead and click on significant. Oh, actually, go back. Sorry. If you go to organizational settings on the lower left, and
This one?
yeah, there you go. Copy that URL. Make sure you don't have spaces in the beginning. I think you have a space in the beginning. Cool. And requesting for public. And please provide a list of links. Please provide a list of links to the public repositories you plan to build. So let's go back to, go to Azure DevOps and go to significant. And then go to project settings down at the bottom left. Is there a link here? No. How about, oh, go back to home, go to the overview.
Whoops. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and just copy that link up on top, the URL from the address. Yeah. And go ahead and paste it in there. Cool. And then we'll grant public concurrency only to validate open source project. Otherwise, you will start private concurrency. Tell them that this is a, see, we will grant public project concurrency only to validate open source project. Otherwise, you should start with private project concurrency. Provide an explanation of your project and justification why you need public. Okay, yeah. So essentially, you tell them that this is for the Road to Code podcast hosted on YouTube, where we educate the public about programming and Azure resources. Go ahead and submit that. So let's go ahead and close this. And let's go back to that pipeline.
Yeah.
And go ahead and click on that significant again. And click on the edit or run pipeline. See if it lets you run the pipeline. And go ahead and run. And click on the job. Click on job. See if there's any message in there.
Oh.
Hang on. Go to expand that job parameters.
Oh.
Max concurrency is 0. Well, it's a good thing, Jonathan, that I actually created a project beforehand where I did request. I didn't realize this was going to take some time, where I did request public pipeline, and it is free and whatnot.
Just take some time.
Yeah, when you do the request, it'll probably take a day or two. So we'll need to come back. We'll need to come back to this. So let me take the driver's seat for a moment. I went ahead and took the liberty of creating what I called a significant preview. Is what I use. I mean, let's go ahead and pull the covers off the magic show, right? I mean, whenever you're developing, you're always going to run into problems. There's just no doubt about it. And you're going to have to do research, and you're going to have to determine what is a problem, maybe Google it, and then apply the fix, try it again, right? It's almost like that one joke where there was a manager, there was a business analyst, and there was a developer in a car, and they were going downhill and the brakes failed. And they were all screaming and clamoring and trying to figure out, like, how are they going to keep themselves safe? Eventually the car comes to a stop. They don't know how, but it came to a stop. Maybe they crashed or something. And so the manager says, we need to set up a meeting and determine why this happened. And the business analyst is like, no, 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 no. We need to get the pros to look at the breaks and determine whether the design was correct. And the developer says, let's just push it up the hill and try it again, see if it happens. You know, I know what development's about. You know, it's like you make a change and you try it again. And if it breaks, you make another change and you try it again. And as long as you just keep on getting different errors, those different errors just indicate that you're progressing, because you fixed the last error, but now you got a new error. So I went through the same thing. I went through setting up the Significant app, and I went through and set up the pipeline. And so if I come in here, obviously I called it Significant Preview. You called it Significant. And if I go edit the pipeline, I went ahead and set it up so that this particular pipeline runs the build. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's going on here, right? So it starts with a trigger, and the trigger is based on the branch name. So whenever we do a commit into the main branch, it triggers the build and it fires it off. And then it says, what is it that we're going to be using to run this build on? So just imagine, and this goes for you, Gerard, just imagine that I say, hey, Gerard, Jonathan created this code. Can you compile it on Windows 22? What you would have to do is you would have to go and buy the hardware, install a fresh copy of Windows 2022, and then go and install the latest version of the .NET framework, go and restore all the packages that are needed in order to successfully build his application, and then run the build. And then once you're finished running the build, go and run all the tests. And then once all the tests are done, go ahead and publish his changes, and then zip them up and drop them into a container called drop. So this means that you have to build the machine, install the operating system, install all the build tools, and then run the build, where this instruction file does it for us every single time. It actually builds a virtual machine every single time and runs the build itself. So suddenly, what takes 5 minutes is a snap of a finger in comparison to putting all the hardware together, installing the operating system, installing all the tools, running the build, publishing the artifacts, and then getting it prepared so that we can go ahead and publish it to the website that we have. And it does this for every single build. Once it finishes building and you get a successful build, even if you don't get a successful build, it tears down that virtual machine. And it builds another one for the next build for whoever else is in the queue. So when we run this, what this looks like is something like so. So we have this little blue job, and this is going to take several minutes. And through the magic of video editing, we are going to jump to the very end. Now that the build is complete, it hasn't done anything with it other than just publish, zip up the files, and place them into a container that we can then grab them from and publish the actual web itself. So let me stop sharing for now. You're going to need to do a second step. And obviously we have to wait for the approval process from Microsoft in order to get the parallel build agents. Otherwise, it's not going to let you build. But I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and I'll let you share again. So let's pretend that on your side things built.
Whoa, that's cool.
So this is the DevOps side of things, right? This is what continuously builds our code. Now we need to go and set up a resource where we can publish our application. And let's go to portal.azure.com. And this should use the same credentials that you created. What we need now is we need Microsoft to host our website. And the type of website that we have is app service. So let's go ahead and click on, you see on the upper, it says app service, like the third icon. Yeah, that one right there. You see on the upper left-hand corner, it says create. Let's go ahead and create a new one. And we need to create a resource. Okay. In other words, it's basically a container. Think of it as a machine. Okay. The resource group. And in this resource group, you're going to be adding things to it. In the real world, this would be the case, like the case that Gerard brought me yesterday for the new computer that we're going to be building.
Oh, yeah.
So think of the resource as the container. So go ahead and create a new one. And let's call this significant resource. Very cool. And then the web app itself, you'll notice that as you start typing in, so go ahead and type in significant. You'll notice that right under significant, you see .azure websites.net. So that name always has to be unique. So so clearly right now, you do have the name. I think I named it something else. I think I named it, let me see what I named mine on my site. I think I called it significant preview or significant web app, I called it. So we'll leave it as significant.azure.net. And we're going to be publishing code. We're not going to be publishing a Docker container. But the runtime stack that we're going to need, go ahead and pull down the little arrow, is going to be .NET 6 LTS. That's going to be our runtime. And we want it to run on Windows. And the region where we want to be at, go ahead and click on that down arrow. Let's see if we can go somewhere west. And then let's go ahead and the Windows plan, go ahead and start and create a new one. And let's call it significant Windows plan. So that's the name. We've created a new Windows plan. All right. So we're going to do a free one. You see as F1, which is free. It gives you 1 GB of memory, gives you minimal storage. It's basically the free tier so that you don't get charged. So let's go ahead and go next on deployment. So continuous deployment, we can leave that disabled for now. Let's go ahead and go to monitoring. And with monitoring, let's see if it allows you to turn it on. Yes, it's on. Okay, this is what's going to be cool about this, is that we can do log entries from the application, and Azure will pick up those log entries and keep track of them for us, so that if anything does go wrong, we're able to look at those log entries and determine what is the path that the logic in the code took, and then we can go back and fix it, based on values that we record on the logs. And as we're putting the API together, I'll explain to you, like, just keep in mind, like, hey, Jonathan, remember application insights? We enabled it when we are writing this line of code that does the logging. We're going to be able to see it in the application insights.
All right.
And so application insight, let's go and create a new one. And let's call it significant app insights. So this is the name of that resource. Go ahead and hit OK. Significant app insight. And then go ahead and go to the tags. So go ahead and click next. And this is, if you have tons and tons of application and you want to be able to filter them based on tags, this is where you would use it. We have one application. I think we'll be fine without tags. So let's go review and create. And so this tells us, right, this is the subscription that you're using. This is the resource group that you've created. We created that significant resource. In the name significant, we're going to publish code, and the runtime stack is .NET 6. The app service plan is significant web plan. It's going to be running on a Windows operating system. It's going to be hosted in the west side of the US. It's the free tier with 1 gig of memory. We're enabling application insights, and we're going to be calling it significant app insights. So let's go ahead and create it. try a different region. Oh, okay. Let's go previous and previous and previous. And let's see.
2.
Try 2, yeah. But you know what? Hang on, go back. I'm noticing that you have these purple. Try it. Let's see what it does. Let's cross our fingers.
Oh,
yes, it did it. So yeah, basically the region that we were choosing wasn't allowing that particular free resource. I guess they allocate only so many free resources to specific regions. And so we had to go to a different server in order to get that done.
Cool.
So while we're waiting for this to finish creating, go ahead and stop sharing. Let me share and let me show you what I did in order to make it work. So I had to go through the same thing. If I come here to the resources, you'll see that I created the significant resource, I created the web app, and I also created the application insights. And that allows me to go into the app service. And what they do is they give you this URL. And this URL allows you to go and visit the website that they're hosting for you. Later, you can change it on your domain to point to this through a CNAME. We can go ahead and change the DNS in order to be able to point to this and be able to visit the site. But more importantly, we can use this resource in order to set up our automated release. So with our automated release, we can tell it when to deploy. And so if we go and check out the job, we can say, hey, this is called deploy. We're using this particular subscription. It's a web app on Windows, and this is the name of the application service. And this right here, significant web app, is the resource, the web application that we created on the portal. So we go and we look at our agents, and we tell our agent that we're running it on a Windows machine. And we're telling it that we're always going to be running the latest code. And then we go to the deployment app service, and we tell it where the zip files are at. And these are all like settings that are pre-loaded for us because they're obvious places where they're located. The service name, what type of app, the subscription, the resources, the name of this particular step, and where to get the zip files. And so when this runs, it allows us to deploy the application onto that resource in order to be able to look at our changes.
Cool.
For now, until we get the approval from Microsoft to allow us to run the build agents on your website, we may have to do a part 2 to this video to show the process that it took to get to there. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to walk you through how to deploy this manually to that particular service. So go ahead and share your screen. Excellent. The deployment is complete. So in other words, it created the website. So let's go to the resource. Cool. Look at that. It gives you the URL. So you can actually go to the URL to go visit. So if you click on that URL, it's probably not going to be anything for the moment. It might be like this is a default HTML page that they put on there. But let's go back to you see on the top, it says get published profile. Go ahead and click on that. And that's in your downloads folder. See how it went ahead and so go ahead and open that folder. Cool. So it's in there. It's in the download. Let's go over to Visual Studio. And go to your Solution Explorer. And we can close that property window. We don't need that property window. Let's go ahead and click on the bottom window where it says properties, remove the pin. And then you can go ahead and remove the pin on the output. Let's right click on the significant web app and let's publish. And what we're going to do is we're going to import your profile and go to your downloads folder and open up that published profile and hit finished. So Microsoft took the liberty of taking all the information that you need in order to successfully publish your site. So let's go ahead and hit publish on the upper center. Hey, look at that, significant.azurewebsites.net.
There it is.
Whoa.
It
Hello.
published it and it opened it. So go ahead and close this and let's make a change. Open up Visual Studio Code. You have to go to the C drive.
Oh,
Repos, Azure, significant. And then keep on drilling into there and go to the client app. There you go. And then go to select folder.
oh, this one.
Yeah. And maximize your window. Oh, go ahead and trust that. Install a virus. Yes.
Yes.
And let's go into the source folder. And let's go into the app.js. Actually, not the app.js. Go into components. And go into the home.js. And let's just change the message. Instead of hello world, say hello fellow developers. Let's go ahead and save this. And let's go back to Visual Studio and publish again. Hit that publish.
There it is.
Oh, man.
So Jonathan, Gerard, if you go to significant.azurewebsites.net, go ahead and stop sharing, Jonathan, and let Gerard.
Are we going to have some magic happen right now?
We're going to have some magic happen. Oh, Gerard, go ahead and share. And this is just, it's available to the public at this point.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So it's available on anybody's browser, on the phone, anywhere. It doesn't matter where it's at. This is available on the internet. I think this is a good place to stop for episode 1. You guys got some homework. Gerard, I think you're gonna be watching some Linux videos, and I'm gonna be asking you some questions. We'll be doing some comparisons with Windows and get that excitement out there for people to get them excited for some of the Linux command line. Jonathan, you still have that Facebook clone that you're working on. And
yes.
We're going to continue on with that as well. And then we're going to continue building on the significant website and all the features that we said we'd put up there. We're going to get them done before the end of the year. I'll tell you that. In the meantime, until next time.
Peace out.
Peace.